So welcome everyone to the Disability Law Center of Virginia's first, for this year, virtual expo, but either way, it's still a first for us, Disability Resources and Rights Expo. We're really excited today to be able to kick off this event and really help kind of unify the theme of breaking barriers and creating access and celebrating the 30 years of the ADA by having a wonderful keynote speaker to kind of kick everything off for us. Just quickly, my name is Sim, and I'm the Director of External Relations at the Disability Law Center of Virginia. I'm going to be helping to moderate in terms of the keynote speech today. We will have some time at the very end after Antoine has finished speaking for people to be able to submit questions. You can be able to submit questions in the chat box, and I'll take a look at them at the end of his speech, and then we'll be able to kind of answer some questions through him at that point. So I don't want to keep you all waiting, but I do want to introduce you to Antoine Craig. He is a professional athlete. He is a para-Olympian. He is going to be representing us for Team USA in Tokyo in 2021. He's also a graduate student, and he's an entrepreneur. So he wears many hats, many hats. He's a multi-talented individual. I do also want to call out and point out the fact that he has a YouTube channel that is documenting his journey towards the Tokyo Olympics. So if you want to learn more about his story, his journey, the process that he takes to get to that point and to, in general, remain being excellent, then be sure to check out on YouTube Legendary Untold. You can subscribe to that and be able to get updates from his postings. Again, that's Legendary Untold. There's a lot of other great things about Antoine. You should be able to find the information in the speaker profile on the platform through Excel events. And so without further ado, I'm going to now turn it over to Antoine. Antoine, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sim, and thank you to everyone who is joining us today. I really appreciate you guys having me here. And also, I'd like to commend everyone on their resilience and tenacity with finding a way to kind of, make life seem a little normal, in the midst of all of this kind of, uncertainty that we have going on right now. So, like I said, I like you to thank you guys for having me here. I wanted to start out with a story about a backpack and how I use it to kind of break through, my challenges and trials that I have with navigating my life as an individual with a disability. So I'm going to share with you guys a story that I have never shared before. So you just give me a second. I'm going to get through it. So when I was 14 years old, I ran away from home. At the moment, I didn't realize the magnitude of what I did, like what it meant for me, like everything that entailed, like everything that went into it, everything that I learned from it. But the reason why I ran away was, at the time, my mother had moved us out of our family home, and we had took all of our stuff and we moved it into a storage unit. And I had this like intricate like African vase, and it was something that I made when I was in school, and I was really proud of this vase, and I put a lot of work into it. And I had a lot of interest in a bunch of different talents, but art was one of them. I loved art. So this particular vase we had to put it in a storage, and I don't know what came over me, but as we were closing the storage unit, this vase like broke into pieces. And it was like one of those like dramatic, like slow motion falls, and it was just like crash. And I just snapped. Like I just snapped, and I just left. Like I just left. I didn't know where I was gonna go. I didn't know where I was going. all I know is that I was not happy about the situation, and I wanted to take control over my life, seemingly, right? Because I was 14, so I'm grown. You know, I'm a grown man now, right? So, you know, I'm running and I'm running and I just go, like I don't even know where I'm going, but I end up like recognizing that I'm in like a kind of familiar neighborhood, and it's one of a neighborhood that we had stayed in previously, and so I was like, okay, I feel okay. It's gonna be okay. But it started to storm. It started to like rain really, really bad. And this was in Georgia, so I don't know if any of you ever been to Georgia, but we never really get rain. The by itself is usually like these horrible storms. So it started to rain, and then it started to rain harder. And at that moment, I needed to like seek shelter, and I was able to find this abandoned home, like this abandoned house. It was just, I didn't really have any other choice. Like I had no other option. So I, for the sake of this story, I'm going to say I magically ended up in the house, right? And I'm soaking wet, and it's dark, and it's like storming, and it's lightning, and I'm just sitting here like reflecting on like what just happened, like my life, and everything is going wrong, and I started to realize like it's really dark now, like it's really dark in the house, and you know, nighttime came and it's just lightning, and I'm starting to hear noises in the house, and then I instantly remembered that I'm afraid of the dark, right? I'm 14, so like I have this very vivid imagination of things, and so I'm sitting here and I'm like really scared because now I'm like lost and I'm away from my family and I'm hungry and I'm just wet and cold and I don't know what to do and I'm scared. So as the night progresses and then it kind of, the storm subsides, like I realized that night, like I overcame my fear of like darkness. I overcame my fear of being alone. Like I recognized at that moment that I didn't necessarily need to be taken care of in that moment. I developed a high amount of independence, and I realized like at that moment that I didn't know it, but this would not be the last time that I would end up like by myself. So in 2010, just to fast forward a little bit, in 2010, I ended up losing a significant amount of my vision. And so I decided to go to school. And in attending school, it was going fine. You know, my first semester, it was going good. I'm trying to learn how to, you know, work with my accommodations. I'm trying to learn how to be blind at the same time. I'm losing more and more vision. It feels like at this point I'm losing more vision by the month. And I'm running into issues with accommodations. And I don't really know what to do. So I end up going to this person, to that person, and this is how I actually met Disability Law Center of Virginia. And they helped me understand, you know, ADA, which is a huge, huge, huge document. But it has a lot of rights, it has a lot of benefits and bonuses, things that would help me that I can take to, you know, the powers that be that can help me navigate the issues that I was having. You know, and I recognized that part of the problem that I was having was that I'm going to school, and at the same time, I'm trying to learn how to be blind. And I'm still holding on to this little vision that I have. So it was making it very difficult. So as time progressed, I'm starting to notice that I'm losing more and more and more vision. And my doctor told me that, oh, you know, it was supposed to stay the same. I was supposed to keep my 5%. And I know that sounds crazy, but like that 5% was everything to me. you know, and that was one of my biggest fears, of just going completely blind. I literally didn't know what I was going to do if I did go completely blind. It was one of those things that I never wanted to think about. Even the title of blind, when people would ask how you would like to be, you know, are you blind, or are you low vision, are you vision impaired? I would always say vision impaired because I felt like blind was just so permanent, and it was just something I was just afraid of. So my vision ended up completely leaving, and it really impacted me. Like, it impacted schoolwork. I couldn't function. I couldn't see faces anymore. I couldn't see letters. I couldn't see that little hand, the man that say, like, walk when you cross the street. I couldn't see any of those things. And I got depressed. I got, like, really, really, really down on myself, and I was a little frustrated by what was happening. But then I remember that when I was 14, I actually already conquered that fear of darkness, right? I've already conquered my fear of being alone. I've already conquered that fear. Like, and that was the moment where I realized that I had this backpack full of experiences that I could utilize at any moment that would help me, like, traverse any obstacle that was before me. And it was one of those things where it kind of floored me, because I'm like, no, I've literally already been through this. And this changed my life. This completely changed everything. Like, I was walking on the moon, right? Because now I'm energized. I'm like, no, I don't have anything to be afraid of, because I've already conquered that fear. I'm fearless at this moment. So this encouraged me to kind of, you know, started doing more activities around school, and, you know, the struggles that I was having in school, I started, you know, making friends with teachers and faculty and staff, and they would always ask me to do special projects with the library, and I actually helped with the accessibility of the Cabo Library of doing a renovation, and I was so pumped. I was like, oh, this is a career path. Maybe I could be like an ADA consultant or something like that. I really thought that was going to be my role. I thought that was going to be like a job prospect for me, and I was just super excited. And I made this resume, and I went to my counselor. And when I went to my counselor with this like new energy, and, you know, my accommodations are clicking. And once I let go of my vision, like, everything, like, my schoolwork was doing so much better. And I go to my guidance counselor, and I tell her this, like, amazing idea of, like, I could do this ADA consulting. Here's my resume. Oh, look at it. This is, you know, I'm going to do all these things. I'm just super excited. And, you know, she's like, you know, like, relax. So she reads through my resume, and she takes a second, and she gives me that kind of dramatic pause. I'm just waiting on, like, her to like, basically confirm what I'm already thinking. And she goes, Antoine, out of everything that you're doing and that you have here on your resume, the one thing that's going to take you places is your running. That's going to be your claim to fame. That's going to be the one thing that's going to separate you from everyone else, because everyone's going to graduate with a bachelor's degree. You know, your running is going to give you the ability to do things that you have never done before. And when she told me this, I was a little taken aback, because, you know, I was like, no, my other idea. But she was my counselor, and I trusted her, and I went to her for everything. And I sat and I thought about it for a minute. And I was like, you know what? I don't have any fear of anything. I'm literally not afraid of anything. The worst thing that I could imagine happening to me has already happened. And I recognized that I already had a backpack full of things that could help me traverse any obstacle, like anything. And the fact that I had that knowledge, I just started training for the Olympics. And that went very well. So well that last year I was able to represent the United States in the 2019 Pan Olympic Games in Lima, Peru. Now, mind you, I've never been that far. That's like the furthest flight I've ever taken in my entire life. And it was just like my counselor said. She told me this would happen. Like, she totally called it. And if I hadn't leaned into it, I don't know if I would ever accomplish that. So I'm in Lima, Peru, and I'm about to race in the semifinals. And all I need to do is get second place, right? All I need is second place, and I can move on to the final. And that's really what I wanted. I wanted to get to the final, and then I can have an opportunity to medal. But I get in the blocks, and I try to focus, and during the race, they said, on your mark, get set. And on set, I like paused, and then the gun went off. But for some reason, I like froze, and I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened whatsoever. But I ended up coming in third place, and I didn't make it to the finals of this race. And of course, I was bummed out because I had done all this training and spent all this energy and put all this effort and all this work into it, all this blood, sweat, and tears, running in the heat, and all these injuries, and just all this different kind of therapy to work on everything. It was tough. And my friend said to me after the race, he said that, Antoine, I'm happy that you didn't do well. I'm happy that you didn't get a medal. And I was like, why? And he said, because you still got a lot of stuff to do. And that hit me. Like, he was absolutely right. Like, all of the advocacy stuff that I was doing at school, all of these different projects, it was like I wanted to make a difference. Like, in order for me to make an impact, this was the best way for me to reach as many people as I can. And he was absolutely right. I still had a lot of work to do. If I would have won that race, I probably would have considered retiring, right? Because, it's hard. It's difficult. It's hard to keep up with the training, and, and I'm working at the same time. It's just a lot. So when he told me this, I started smiling. It wasn't just because he was right, but it was just because, like, he didn't know that I had this backpack, full of experiences. Like in 2017, I, filed out a grant to go on my first study abroad program in Spain. And I had to get on a flight by myself, and I ended up catching a flight from Richmond to Atlanta, and then I ended up missing my flight, and I had to stay in Atlanta by myself and figure out, like, how I was going to make myself sustain. He didn't realize that I had this book bag with an experience that in 2017, I spent all of my money to fly to California to run in my first Paralympic national race, right? And didn't know what I was going to do after I got back. All I knew was I was just chasing that dream. He didn't know I had a backpack full of all of these different amazing experiences. So I'll leave you guys with this. I want to gift you all your own very own backpack, right? So you could decorate. I implore you to decorate your backpack. Like, close your eyes and imagine what you would like your backpack to look like. Mine, I'm not going to tell you what mine look like. It's a little dusty. It's a little worn, right? But yours can be pink and purple with zebras and rhinestones and everything else. And I'm giving you this backpack, and I want you to take some time and reflect on your life and all of your experiences and all of those moments where you felt like that your world was going to end, but yet you sit here in front of me now listening to my story. Think about those times you spoke to your grandma or your grandpa, and they said something so crazy that you didn't understand what in the world it meant, but they'll tell you you'll understand when you get older. Reflect on all those moments and compile them and put them in your backpack. And when you're ready, you'll be able to take that backpack and take those items in that backpack and utilize them to break through any obstacle that you have set before you. So I thank you guys for your time. I thank you guys for listening to my story. And I would like to open it up for questions.
Thank you, Antoine, for sharing your inspirational story and your journey with us, or at least a piece of your journey in terms of being a self-advocate, being an athlete, being all the wonderful things that make you you, and not being defined by just your disability. So now we will open up for questions. And so for those of you who have been watching, you can submit your questions by chat within the Excel Events platform if you've been watching the live broadcast. And so let me just check to see if there are any questions really quick. Okay, so the first question that we received is, when did you first start running?
Oh man, I started running I started running when I got to undergrad. One day, I had a girlfriend outside there. I had a girlfriend, but she broke up with me, right? And you know, like one of my ways to, you know, one of my crazy thoughts was that, like, I don't know what I was gonna do. I'm now single and, you know, I'm blind. So it's like one of my insecurities was like, nobody's gonna want me. So I thought that if I like started working out, then, you know, someone would want me. It was an irrational thought, but it motivated me. And one day I went to the gym with a friend, and she told me that she'd seen people run like shoulder to shoulder before, like people that were blind. And I was like, what? No. You're like, yeah, right. And she kind of showed me on the indoor track. And then we started running around, and I just fell in love with it because, you know, when you're restricted to a cane, your mobility is restricted. So you don't never move, you never move too fast. And just to be able to run like that, you just feel so free. And I ended up becoming addicted to it. And that's when I started running, right around like 2012, 2013. But I was doing then I started doing like 5Ks and stuff like that. So nothing too serious, just fun runs.
Bless you. Like, I wish I could say the same. So bless you for doing that.
Look, I can always use a partner, so you can jump in whenever you want.
I don't think I keep up with you. So we do have another question and comment. So from another viewer, they said, thank you so much for being here. How do you handle encounters with people who make assumptions about what you can do?
Oh man. So I love it. I'll stick to running. One of my first like monument 10Ks I ran. I have this little blind vest that I wear with my partner. And one day we were running past somebody, and I overheard a lady. She was like, "Oh my gosh, like he's blind. Like how is he doing this? Like this is crazy." And, you know, to me, it's like, I love it because it just, you know, because you show them, right? I think sometimes we spend too much time, like, worried about what people think about us instead of showing people what we are, right? It's easy for people, if you're not living your best, being your best self, it's easy for people to define. You need to define yourself. Then that takes a little effort on your part. And once you do that, there's a joy that I get from like just sticking it to people. Especially when I finish races and people's like, I seen you and I tried to catch you, but I couldn't catch you. And that just, oh my God, that's the greatest feeling in the world. So I think that's how you should deal with people. You show them and don't worry about, you're going to have, everybody has haters, no matter who you are. Beyonce, Taylor Swift, everybody has haters. You could be the greatest person in the world, and you just got to use that and use it for motivation. Put it in your backpack, right? And use it later for motivation to fuel you.
It comes right on back to that backpack analogy. I love it.
Yes, I live by it now.
Love it. So we have about 4 more minutes before the session ends. And so if anyone else has any questions, you might want to hurry up and get them in quickly. But in the meantime, I do want to, on behalf of everyone who's been watching, and also on behalf of the Disability Law Center in Virginia, oh, actually, before I end, one more question. So have you, this person has asked, have you come across any life lessons that your backpack was not equipped for?
Have I come across? Yes. So relationship stuff. Like, that's why I'm glad we're just talking about like accessibility and breaking through and things like that. Like, just your relationship. I don't think anyone's equipped for it. There's some tools that you'll have in your backpack that you can kind of refaction and try to apply it, but it's hard. You just have to go through it, and that is the hardest thing. So I would say relationships, not just with friends, like romantic relationships are definitely challenging.
I think for anyone that can be. That's true across the board.
Yeah. That's why you just put a little bit of wine in your backpack. That's what you do. It'll be okay.
There you go. That can help. Or, maybe a good non-alcoholic beverage if that's not your thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we are pretty much out of time. Thank you all again for tuning in. Thank you again on behalf of the Disability Law Center of Virginia, Antoine, for your inspirational story of resilience. And also for giving us that gift of the analogy of the backpack. And
you have to use it.
Yes, you are absolutely right. And I think what we can definitely take away from it is that you also need to make sure that you're constantly checking that you have the right tools and the right lessons and the right equipment within that backpack. So it's an ever changing, ever progressing, ever evolving thing. And so I thank you very much for teaching that to us and through your journey and through your story. And thank you so much for your time today. Do you have any parting words of inspiration or wisdom to share with us before we end?
Yes, you have everything that you need with you already. All you have to do is just collect it, right? That's all you got to do. And one thing I always like to say at the end of my videos is that our stories are unfinished, are untold. So just get out there and continue to make your story, and be great.
Well, spoken like a true legend in the makings.